guys. Welcome to Plano's Political Pitbull Podcast. I am Esther.
And I'm Ruth.
And today we have some Plano items, a good bill of the week, and a Texas legislator update. First up, an update from the Texas legislature. Well, folks, the House passed a budget, and I am not talking about the federal Congress, I am talking about the state. Yes, we have a budget. Some highlights, $51 billion for property tax relief. That is an increase of $11.2 billion. $63 billion to fully fund school enrollment, plus an additional $7.7 billion in new targeted K through 12. Now, if we cannot educate our kids on that much money, we have a problem. We have money to secure the border, money for new roads projects, water infrastructure, mental health, women's health and maternal safety, and $1 billion for wildfires, response and emergency readiness. And those are just some highlights. Obviously, I'm not going to read the entire budget to you. You would cure your insomnia. So let's move on to a good bill of the week. And it is from our very own Candy Noble of Collin County. And this good bill of the week is HB number 22. It's always good. If it's a lower number, it means it's a high priority for the governor. So this is relating to an exemption from ad valorem taxation of intangible property. So basically, it removes the section on taxing intangible personal property. And basically it says intangible personal property is not taxable.
Can you give an example of that?
So if, let's say you create a software program, you can't actually touch that. So that would be non-taxable. Texas kind of has a way of taxing businesses without having an income tax on them. So property taxes for a business, if you're renting, obviously you're paying property taxes through your rent, but the business owns computers, furniture, software. If you're a medical business, all the equipment you need there. That, while it's a depreciating asset, meaning over time the cost of that would go down, it's still taxable. And that's your property, and you would be taxed on that property. So this is only on the stuff that you can't physically hold with your hands. I personally think a business should not be taxed on a depreciating asset. Seems kind of silly because over time you're going to get less and less for that asset.
Any drop. They want any drop.
Yep. They will squeeze blood out of a stone if they can. But this at least will not tax the stuff you can't physically hold in your hands. So it's a step forward, right? But then we have some steps backwards, which brings us to Plano. So in the last Plano City Council meeting on March 24th, 2025, we had the staff come in and want to update their food code ordinances. So in Plano alone, we have 1,835 current permits for restaurants and anybody dealing with food in Plano alone. Now, Texas has adapted the FDA model to the Texas Food Establishment Rules. So obviously Plano has to revise to keep on pace with Texas because they can't have different standards. That would drive everyone bananas. But they can make some additional revisions to their own code and have some things that are different. So obviously this would include the FDA food code, the Texas food code amendments, and then they have some other suggestions. Ready? Here we go.
I'm ready.
So some things that they call neutral changes, it won't cause any additional impact on the businesses. The businesses may beg to differ. So if, let's say, you have fingernail attachments, okay, maybe like jewels or beads on your fingernails, they're requiring that you must wear gloves. Now, I would hope that whether or not you have long fingernails with all kinds of glitter and beads and whatever attached to them, that the person handling my food wears gloves. That should be a given.
Actually, fun fact, gloves in the food industry is actually less hygienic than if they weren't to wear gloves, because when they don't wear gloves, they're washing their hands a lot. And when they are wearing gloves, gloves protect the wearer. They don't protect anyone else, because you don't change your gloves that often.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that.
You won't change your glove as often as you will wash your hands.
Yeah, but you could, get very dry if you were constantly washing your hands. I mean...
We're not talking about that. We're talking about hygiene.
Yeah, I'm talking about hygiene, but if your hands are red and peeling, that wouldn't be good. You wouldn't want dead skin in your food.
Well, don't overdo it.
Okay. All right. Commercial equipment standards. Obviously, they want to give definitions to these. Requiring commercial grade equipment for displays and water heaters. Apparently, these are neutral, and maybe they already have these things. I don't know if they're calling these neutral. These doesn't sound neutral to me. Consolidates existing codes to one section for one completed cooking procedures. Dish rack storage cannot be on the floor. That seems like how that should have been there to begin with. I don't see how anyone would put dishes on the floor. And obviously must clean daily and prior to closing, which I would think all businesses do this. Businesses don't want to poison their customers. And mobile food units, like food trucks, must meet fire codes. And they want to remove the farmers market section because it's already in state law, so they're just repeating themselves. I am all for that. Reducing anything, cutting anything, no problem. So some more restrictive changes. They want to add supplies for cleaning up vomit and diarrhea. Be on site. If it's not on, right now they just say they have to have these supplies. It doesn't say on site. It doesn't make sense that you wouldn't have these readily available. Chemical produce wash, if using, must have a concentration and testing kit on site. Date marketing requires both date, food, was made and the expiration dates. I got news for you, City of Plano. This already exists. Okay, I don't know if they've ever been to a grocery store. I'm going to assume that they're talking about stuff that is packaged in store, okay, like meat and certain things of that nature, and fish. It's on there. It says the date it was packed and the date to sell by, which you could take as the expiration date, okay? They give you about 1 or 2 days usually to cook it, but me personally, I don't usually go past the sell-by date.
Because you're paranoid.
Yes, I'm paranoid. This one, I had a slight problem with. They want to require a log be kept of when the food was removed from the temperature control and the time it was discarded.
Are they just trying to annoy people to death?
Yes. Right there is just a rule that says food can be removed from temperature control, from the refrigerator, and it can basically sit out for 4 hours, but there's no requirement of keeping track of that. Yeah. So, you know how if you're cooking something, you got to take it out of the fridge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, sometimes you'll have it out to prep it and stuff, prepare it. Well, what they're saying is there's only a limit of 4 hours that it can be out of the refrigerator.
Okay.
But apparently right now, there's no log to keep track of when it came out of the refrigerator, when it was used, if it goes back in the refrigerator.
I guess they're just hoping people use common sense or something. I don't know.
Oh.
I wouldn't hope for that, though.
Yeah, well. And also they want to remove the option for concrete floor sealant with 1/4 of an inch of sealant. I don't even know how you measure that.
Why do we need all these added rules? Has there been problems with?
That's my question. And that was, I think, what Rick Smith wanted to know. Has there been issues with reports of food poisoning in establishments? They really couldn't answer. To my memory anyway, I have it in my notes. I don't think they answered that question. Or are we just adding rules just to add rules?
I mean, government loves doing that, so.
True. Government will always want to grow.
They want to feel needed.
Yeah. Whole bunch of added rules for equipment. This next one is gonna cost money. So they want to add dump sinks. Okay.
For what purpose does a grocery store need a dump sink?
Now, I'm sorry. Let me go back. Dump sinks required, one for bar areas only, and only for new bars. So why do you need a dump sink? Okay, so we have separate sinks for washing your hands. There is literally a sink that is only designated for washing hands. I've seen this in our temple's kitchen. You can only wash hands in the sink. Makes no sense to me, but okay. Well, a lot of times bars will dump ice out. They'll dump stuff, let's say if you have a disposal, I guess. Some will dump cut up fruit. I don't know why. I would think it would go in the trash. But if you have, like, let's say you're dumping ice out, they need a place to put that. So apparently they want a separate sink to wash your hands, a separate sink to wash dishes.
This one is for hand germs. This one is for customer germs.
And a separate, now a separate dump sink. 3 sinks. And it's only for new bars. Apparently the older bars are going to be grandfathered in, and apparently those germs are okay. If there's germs. It's ice. I don't know. Okay. So this is for food trucks. They want to clarify what readily movable means. Isn't that kind of obvious?
Readily movable?
Yeah.
It's ready to be moved?
I guess so. I don't know.
It's always...
Mobile? I don't know. So some more restrictive things that are going to cost people a lot of money. They want to require mobile food operators to arrange for employee restrooms when parked more than 2 hours at a location. She's looking at me like, what does that mean, folks? Okay. You're a food truck operator. Maybe it's you and one employee. And you're going to go and you're going to be parked right outside a park. They want to make sure that your employees have a spot to use the restroom if you're going to be there for more than 2 hours.
Okay.
Now, this could have some ramifications. Like, now the owner has to basically know which parks have restrooms, what spot has restrooms. If he can use a restroom, let's say like it's outside a mall or something, I don't know. If there's a food truck park, does the food truck park have restrooms that are available? If they're going to be there in one location for more than 2 hours. So this is going to mean that
if you know you're going to a park, just go before you leave.
That's what would make sense to me. I feel like this is going to mean...
Or go in the bushes.
They're going to be... I don't think they want that. That's what they don't want, okay? And I think that's the point. But I see this as, okay.
I had to throw that in.
Yeah. I see this as, all right, I'm only going to be here for 2 hours. Then I'm going to move to another location. Then I'll be there for 2 hours. Then I'll move to another location. And I'll be there for 2 hours. Then I'll move to another location.
Not one of them has a bathroom?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I guess that's why they wanted to make the rule.
I guess so. But see, it only says for more than 2 hours. Is there a rule in here that says that you have to give your employees a bathroom break every so often? Because in my scenario, if you're moving every 2 hours, you don't have to move to a spot if you're only going to be there for 2 hours that has a restroom. Next one, mobile food establishments requiring generators while in operation and proper sizing based on equipment.
This is also expensive.
I want to know, generators are very large. How are they going to fit a generator in a food truck? A food truck has very limited space inside it. Where are they going to put these generators?
Well, was it talking about a food truck? It said a food establishment.
Mobile food establishment.
Oh.
That's food trucks.
I missed the mobile part.
Yeah, that's food trucks. I mean, these are not small things. And if you have a refrigerator or a stove in there, you need a certain size generator. Because the feeling is, and the reasoning for this is, food trucks are basically powered by the engines of the trucks. Well, if the engine of the truck fails and turns off, then what happens to the stuff that's in the refrigerator? Now, obviously, no food truck operator wants their inventory to be wasted like that. So I would think they would have a backup plan. But generators are not cheap. And you need a certain amount of power to power a refrigerator. Those are energy suckers.
I don't know.
Obviously, it doesn't allow operation of businesses on property one owns without a required permit. That should already be in there. And these will be placed on the April 4th meeting agenda. Oh, so it should have passed. So it should have
That
come
already
up
happened.
already, but I didn't see it on the April 4th agenda. I wonder if these were in the consent agenda. I will have to go back and see. So Maria 2 asked a question that I have to admit I would not have asked. Will somebody be teaching operators how to do these things and the new codes? And of course the answer was yes. We will be educating them. And then she asked, do they have translators? She's concerned with folks who are operating restaurants whose employees don't speak English. Now, in order to be in the food industry of any kind, you have to take a test. You have to be licensed. If you don't speak English, that means that they're taking this test in their native tongue. I would honestly rather, instead of paying for translators, I would actually want to pay for an English class. Because it's very important that if you come here, you speak the language.
That would be more expensive.
That would be more expensive than having a translator for every single solitary language we have in the city of Plano.
Most of it's going to be Spanish.
Well, I think Maria, too, was worried about Mandarin. She's blinking at me rapidly, folks.
Most of it's going to be Spanish.
I don't know. We've got a very international base here. Yeah, we have some Spanish, but we've got a large Asian population. They have multiple languages. We have an Indian population. We've got the Muslim population, and there's obviously they have all kinds of different languages in there. They don't all speak the same language there. And then you've got a wide variety. So you would have to pay for a translator for each language.
How long do you think it takes to learn English?
At least,
especially when you're an adult.
At least.
Also, that's kind of insulting.
At least some basic things.
I mean,
look, you can go down in Brooklyn and you could literally walk down the street. You've got the Russian neighborhood, you've got the Korean neighborhood, you got the Spanish neighborhood. It is literally an international walk. And that's just one avenue. And we know, having relatives who came from from another country, that it's very isolating for the adults who don't speak the language. They only stay in their little bubble. And yes, the kids grow up and they can speak English, but it's very isolating to them. You'll never get out of that little bubble. I would want to help them to get out of their bubble to expand more and be able to prosper more. And the way you do that is by learning the language of where the country you live in. That to me is more humane and more empathetic than getting translators and keeping folks in their little bubble.
It's also a lot harder, and it's more expensive because you know how many classes that's going to take? It's not easy to learn a language when you're an adult.
I know. I'm lucky I can speak English. Languages are not my thing. But then you're keeping people within their little bubble.
There's a lot of options out there to learn English.
There is.
There's literally free apps out there.
True.
Don't have to pay money.
Okay. Rick Smith asked the average performance of restaurants. We have like a 90% rating for our restaurants. We're very high. Rick Horn asked about a timeline. And Anthony Riccadelli asked, do we have regulations preventing insects in food? And of course the answer was yes to that. So I will take a look. I will go back and see if that was on the consent agenda for the April 4th meeting. See what happens. See, this is why I don't like the consent agenda, because it's so easy to miss something. Alrighty. Before I get to our very important dog, I want to let our listeners know that we are working on setting up interviews by phone with the candidates running for City Council. We have reached out to all the candidates by email, asking them to come on the podcast and answer some questions and have a discussion on the issues. So far, 4 of the candidates have gotten back to us, and 1 has already recorded an interview with us and a discussion. All candidates will get a minimum of an hour with us. If it goes longer, it's fine. We'll just let it go longer. So these episodes are going to be at least an hour, just to let you know. They're all going to come out. All of the recordings will come out on the same day. That way no one knows what the opponent said beforehand or the questions that were asked. We have made arrangements for an interview with Garrett Carey, Cody Weaver, Carson Underwood, and we are still working on setting a date with Hayden Pageant. The rest have not gotten back to us. All the candidates are welcome on our show, and we hope to get at least a response from everyone. Now to our very important dog. Spot is still up for adoption, folks. Spot is such a good boy. He's very obedient and so smart. Spot knows the command sit, stay, and down. He rides well in the car and loves to look out the window on the drive. Spot went on a group dog walk and got along with all the other dogs. He's very friendly and likes head rubs. Spot showed no prey drive along the walk when encountering squirrels and birds. He was interested in all the passing bikers and walkers. Spot is about 4 years of age and likes belly rubs. So please go look up Spot. You can go to our website, planospoliticalpitbull.com. Click on the link, Pitbulls for Adoption. That is going to be it for us today, folks. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. This is Esther.
And this is Ruth.
For Plano's Political Pitbull, signing off.